will die! It's pointless to run. The monster will find us wherever we go.
Separate!
So I recently watched and reviewed a movie called Texas Chainsaw Mascara, and it was better than I was expecting. And the writer-director Bill Zebub had done a whole bunch of kind of low-budget, schlocky B-movie horrors. So I thought I'd have a look at maybe one or two other kind of titles. Now, I'm a big fan of kind of scarecrows as a horror movie antagonist, and I've reviewed a few on the channel. And there was a movie from 2010 that Bill Zebub both wrote and directed called Night of the Pumpkin. And I thought I would give that one a check out because I kind of quite liked the Texas Chainsaw Mascara, and I kind of like Scarecrow movies, so I thought I would give it a go. So Night of the Pumpkin from 2010. Also known as The Pumpkin Man, which was actually a slightly re-edited version of this movie, is a very low-budget indie B-movie horror, and it focuses on this group of friends gathering before the night before Halloween night, Mischief Night or something it's called, and they are seemingly attacked by this pumpkin-headed entity who has kind of vines and stuff for arms, and is killing their friends, and they must figure out who or what this kind of creature is, what it wants, and ultimately how to defeat it. In the meantime, there's lots of heavy metal, lots of nudity, and lots of banal dialogue. So if that does sound your ticket, then you might like this movie. So let's discuss Night of the Pumpkin. So I think the budget for this one was around $4,000 or $5,000, so it's not a high budget movie by any sense. What can we say that works in this film? If you like naked women, you like this movie, I would imagine, because there's many naked women in this movie, and they're naked quite a lot, and some characters seem to be naked permanently. So yeah, plenty of naked women. Is there anything else to this film? Now, having done a little bit of reading about this movie, it sounds like Bill Zebub, and it's true of the Texas Chainsaw Mascara as well, tries to take familiar tropes that you've seen in kind of horror movies and try to do something a little bit different. So I think the idea with this movie is to have these kind of like bimbo-y type kind of like characters actually have somewhat kind of realistic and in-depth conversations about different things, other than just kind of like, are you going to get laid tonight, or talking about drugs, or you know, that's typical things that you see in horror films. So we get, we get different conversations with these female characters. It's mostly a female cast. There is one or two male characters, but they're only in short, small roles. So effectively we have groups of women talking about atheism versus religion, police, all different types of kind of like subjects, theories about what this thing is, trying to kind of work out, what the actual kind of the F is going on with this creature, and very, lots of kind of dialogue driven conversations about different kind of topics, and aliens and all sorts of stuff. So the idea, I think, is what I'm gleaning from this, is to have these kind of like, these attractive kind of screen cream types talk about this kind of stuff, unlike you see in many other horror films. So that was the idea here, I feel. Interesting kind of concept, and I'm not a fan of sticking to the stereotypes overall. And one of the things I liked about the Texas Chainsaw Mascara was it did some interesting things as characters. This movie, I mean, it is an older film. It's this is 12 years before the Texas Chainsaw Mascara. I think it worked quite as well, I have to say. It really is. Maybe it's honed his craft over the kind of the years, because this one was painful to sit through. I mean, it's low budget, I get it, right? Maybe the bulk of this budget, this $4,000 or $5,000, I suspect was spent on giving these women money to get their clothes off, because I can't see where else it was spent on. That's for sure. So let's talk about that dialogue, right? Because I think that's the one thing this movie tried to do, which is a little sort of different, I guess. But the problem is that if you're going to have because it's not taken, I mean, there's a couple of instances where it's sort of like, you know, has its tongue in cheek, but a lot of the time the conversations are tried to be taken a little more seriously, because they're talking about, you know, more sober kind of subject matters and stuff. But the actresses, they're struggling to deliver dramatic dialogue. Let me put it like that. You know, you have this kind of idea, I think, where you're having these kind of deep and meaningful conversations with, you know, girls sitting there with her bangers out, and delivered by, you know, maybe not professional actresses. It doesn't really work, and I have to be honest with you, it becomes very banal after a while. It's kind of quite, oh geez, it's just lots of kind of sitting down talking about stuff, you know, and in a way this could be an interesting conversation topic. Tarantino has made a career of having like irreverent kind of conversations about things that aren't directly tied to the plot and stuff. But in this instance, it's just like blocks of dialogue delivered unconvincingly that seem to kind of like go on forever as well. They're too long, and it's just kind of like people sitting down talking. In the meantime, we get this kind of pumpkin creature kind of pops up here and there, and everyone kind of non-reacts to it and calmly talks about how this creature is killing people and things like this. It's just not particularly thrilling, even on a low budget kind of level. I mean, you can enjoy low budget schlocky films for the kind of the fun elements, for the kind of the schlock, the kind of the you know, I mean, that's why these movies tend to kind of lean into the kind of like the silliness, the tongue in cheek. Whilst this one only really dips its toe in. The dialogue scenes seem to be taken a little bit more sort of seriously, and it doesn't really mesh. And then yeah, the actual creature itself is just stupid, to be honest. Again, I'm not sure if it's necessarily meant to be taken seriously exactly, but it's just like, it's an odd tone, because some of the stuff here, like the actual creature, just looks ridiculous and silly, and there's lots of nudity in it. There's lots of kind of like one character actually played by Bill Zebub, just like a joke character. But then we have these kind of dialogue sequences discussing, you know, faith versus atheism and stuff, and it doesn't really fit. It just doesn't fit. This movie's structure and tone is just kind of, you know, not there. There's one reasonable VFX shot, I would say, but a lot of the VFX, or the majority of them, are very, very cheap, very poor. The kind of creature, it just seems to just turn up, and it's always in kind of like, you know, well-lit situations. Never really is it's ever attempted to try and make this thing look threatening or remotely kind of like scary or anything like that. It's just very, very kind of like bland and generic. Like I've said, I appreciate the attempt here to have this kind of more of a dialogue-driven movie with, you know, heady themes and everything, and that's commendable. And I think Bill Zebub, but I've only seen a couple of the films that he's done. From the ones that I've seen, there is definitely progression in his skill set. But this one was, I have to be honest with you, painful to sit through. I really felt like I wasn't paying attention, and it was just kind of like my eyes were starting to kind of glaze over because it was boring. You know, yes, there's lots of naked women on screen, but you know, I have Google. I don't need to see it in this. You know, I like to be captivated by fun characters, an interesting story. Or something, or imagination. It's just dull. So yeah, 2 out of 10. This one was painful. I should point out I've seen The Night of the Pumpkin version, not Pumpkin Man, but I can't imagine it's any better. 2 out of 10. Has anyone else seen this? Please do let me know, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.